Okay, so now we are ready to code. So we're going to start by coding the directions for the dog to move, the up, down, left, and right, based on the y and x coordinates. So going back to here, on the set of the dog, and we want to create 4 events. The events are over here, and you can see when I click on the events, I got something called when spacebar key pressed, which when we put here, but we want to change it to the up arrow. So the up arrow, we want to move it in a certain way. So let's look at the motion section, and we want to have him go up, change his y coordinate. So you see, change y. I'm going to say change y, and I'm going to put a number like 5. So you can, obviously the bigger the number means the more he will move, and faster. The smaller the number, the slower. And I'm just basically going to repeat that again for the down arrow. So do the down arrow. I'm going to go to motion, and I'm going to change the y again by -5. Okay, because if you remember what we said before, plus minus x. Okay, so again, we'll do the left arrow. We are going to move it, but instead of changing the y, we're going to change the x. Change the x by -5 to the left. And lastly, we're going to say when the right arrow is pressed, we're going to change the x again. So it's not setting, we want to change it. We want to change the x by 5. And we can basically test it out now. If we click in the game itself, you can see it's moving as I expected, because that's how we coded it. Nothing's happening with the walls yet because we haven't coded that yet. We're just about to do it now. Okay, so looking again at the planning of the pseudocode, we said when the game starts, we want to basically say when we click the green flag, set the wins and losers to 0, so that's the starting points. Set the position of the dog to start and say I need to win. So how we do that? Let's start with when the green flag is clicked. Okay, and what we want to do is we want to set the wins, which is the Wii's and the attempts, to 0. Now, this is where we use something called variables. Variables is basically a place where you can store information like scores and wins and losers and health and whatever you want. That it's a number that changes, just like in math. See, math is in everything. So I want to make a variable because we don't have ones that exist yet. I'm going to create 2 variables. I'm going to call this one Wii's. Okay, and I'm going to create another one called attempts. Okay, see, and as soon as I create them, you can see that I've got 2 of them that have been ticked, and they actually appear up here. I can actually drag them to where I want on the screen, which is kind of cool. Now, if I untick the tick, you notice it hides it. So when you create variables, you can choose to actually display them or not, up to you. And it also creates other sort of code blocks that I can use. So in this case, I want to set the Wii's to 0. And I also want to set the attempts to 0, because that's what I said. The next thing was I want to set the position of the dog to the start. So how do you do that? Well, what we do is, because we already are in the dog, we just want to control his motion and tell him to go to a certain position. So the way we do that is we're going to go to x and y. And the values of x and y is basically wherever it is on the game. Now you can see that where I have the dog, he's actually set to x, these values. You can see as I move the dog, the value will change. I want the starting position to be up here, and so whatever value that is, 178 by -197, I will type that in there. So 178, and I think it's minus 197. Okay, so that's going to be starting point. And the last thing I want to add was saying I need to pee. So how do you get into say I need to pee? Well, go to where you see something called not sound, looks, sorry. Go to looks and you can say, how, like what do you want to say? Say, instead of hello for 2 seconds, say, I need to pee for 2 seconds. And then we can test it out by clicking on the flag. I need to pee. And you can see it set to 0. Okay.